as we look at our text in Matthew chapter 6, the backdrop to all that is the scribes and Pharisees who literally believed that what gave them acceptance and security, significance, kind of the idea of meaning and purpose in life, righteousness, I'd propose, dikosune, that right standing, was an impeccable external adherence to the rules, and a power to judge others and stand apart from others as superior. That's kind of the backdrop. So as everyone's trying to keep up with the Pharisees, it's constantly leading people to the wrong frame of reference as to who God even is. So Jesus starts off and says, don't let your acts of righteousness be seen before others. Verse 2, he says, so when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets like the hypocrites do. Hypocrites is that word, hypocrite. So do not announce it like the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the street corners, to be seen and honored by others, to be honored by others. So there's that sense of, I'm getting my esteem from what others think of me. When that happens, and he says, if you do that, you've got your reward. That's all you get. So 7 times in Matthew 6, he'll say, you've got your reward. You'll get your reward, or the Father will reward you. This idea of reward is built into most of our frame of reference about life. Most of us, we're a little bit like the Pharisees and the scribes. We're kind of the opinion that if I do things well, I'll be honored. That is, if somebody sees it, right? And so, did you see the good thing I did? Or we might just drop, I did this. And why? Because we, whether consciously or unconsciously, we want to kind of help others to see us in high regard. So this is, for the Pharisees it was, and for a lot of us, it's acute image management, right? You might just think of it as our craving to be seen as better than we are. Do you recognize that? That we've got a craving to be seen as better than we are. And sometimes we have a craving to be seen as better than others. And sometimes we have a craving that others think we don't have flaws or shortcomings, at least nothing very significant. All of that can turn into a pretty obsessive image management, like, how am I behaving so others think well of me? And when I do something well, I kind of think, did anybody see that? I hope somebody saw that. That's our flesh driving the ship. That's our compulsion to try to manipulate our surroundings and people's view of us. That's what Jesus is saying. Don't do that. He's saying, don't give, announcing it. I guess that's what they did in the synagogues, right? They announced that someone had just given a big gift. Good for them. He says, that's that little trumpet blast, that's all the reward you get. It's not going to be something that will affect your internal well-being because you're wearing a mask to get it done. You're putting on pretense to get it done. So as Jesus just kind of goes through one of these statements after another, verse 1, verse 2, verse 3, he just kind of starts clicking off these things that we are driven on the outside to be seen one way, when we know good and well on the inside we are quite another way. And when we come to God that way, it's just ridiculous, because God knows what you're like on the inside. And the sooner you start letting the inside show up in your prayer life, the sooner God has permission to work on the inside. But you've got to articulate it. You got to name it. You got to focus some concentration and energy on your authentic self, not your inauthentic self. A congruency between outside and inside. When that happens, all of a sudden then, we begin to sense God's grace, right? Getting what I don't deserve. As long as I pretend, just be the person that I think is deserving, there's not much grace there. But when I own the person who's undeserving, and that person is the person that shows up in my prayer life, I begin to sense God's grace. and things in my anxious heart begin to settle down. That's the invitation of prayer Jesus gives us in the Lord's Prayer. Father, show me who you are. Lord, draw me close to you. His affection, availability, all sufficiency to meet your emotional well-being, alters your reality, changes your false self to a true, genuine self. That's the desire that God's calling us to, with authentic prayer, with being our true self with God. Because what that does for us is it begins to liberate me from pretense. We need that liberation, that freedom. So I just agree with you today. Would you agree with me? Just, Lord, you see us, all of our imperfections, our faults, our shortcomings, and Lord, sometimes our obsessive attempts to control what others see. Lord, we should not have to put that on when we come to you. So Lord, we take off our masks, we let down our guard, and we just confess our brokenness, our fear, our anxiety. Lord, this is who we are. Jesus, meet us in this place. Lord, love us forward to be the people, your children that you've called us to be. I hope that your connection this week with Jesus is having an increased level of authenticity and that you sense his love. I'll see you tomorrow.